What's up? It's your boy Kevin to turn on this motherfucking YouTube shit. Wow, what the fuck?
What's up? It's your boy Kevin to turn on YouTube shit. Hey man, say man, we are Lit, Lit, turn, motherfucking day. She hitting outside, big crib in the gang. She hitting outside shit, man. Free Palestine, free Congo, Russia, do your thing, and Texas, stand the fuck up. Each day is a new day to be a better version of yourself. Never let somebody bring you down, always fight back. Never let somebody tell you who you are, but also never put yourself in a position of alone. Let's stay humble. It's Young Revolution on the movie Keep Your Way First. Coming to you as a Black Hebrew Israelite. Let's get into this bitch. Alright. Ooh. Today, it's motherfucking day. She hitting outside, big crib and a gang. She hitting outside shit. Hey gang, let's get into this shit off the rip, nigga. Off the back, nigga. Hey, this shit getting crazy, nigga. So, Logan Paul, bruh. White people, man. I don't know what's y'all fucking problem. You know what I'm saying? It's like, y'all make this money on this world, man. And y'all feel like the money on man is so much more worth than any human, any experience a nigga go through. Don't care about nobody but yourselves. It's like, bro, y'all just destroy everything, put everybody in deletion, push them 10,000 years back, while y'all steady come up off people back, bro. So we got Logan Paul, man. His career is downfalling. You know what I'm saying? You know he always been that low key celebrity child kind of ish, but you know he done went to new levels. But it just man, people see through that act. You know what I'm saying? When people think like he came up with Prime and he get into like lawsuits with like over like NFTs, scams, and suing Coffeezilla, like bullshit, like to make this, I don't know, just to fuck up his shit, but he got a lot of money on it. So, hey, that's what I was saying, man. We got this video, man. Let's get into it.
Guys, this is the fall of Jake Paul. Shout out to Logan Paul, bitch. Shout out to Jamari, for real. You know, we watch his videos every now and then.
So it has been 3 years since Logan Paul and KSI launched their hydration beverage Prime. And despite their lightning in a bottle start, the last 2 years have been filled with controversy after controversy. From alleged forever chemicals in their products, to countless lawsuits, beef with the most famous soccer player on the planet, and currently an extreme downfall of Prime sales all over the world.
I ain't never drunk one bottle of that. I put down my life.
Hype drink is in question, and what
I haven't drunk one bottle of it. I don't even like. I ain't know it was like shot against it, nigga.
Has now diminished to the clearance.
What the fuck does that do for us, nigga? Like a lot of these places don't help us at all.
And will they ever be able to climb their way out of the hellish inferno they have entered in the last 365 days? Let's take a deeper look. So when Prime first came out, its hype train was driven directly by Logan Paul and KSI.
Yeah.
Well, when you drink it,
that do-rag is long than a bitch. Pause. Wow.
That's how good it is, bro. Instant ejaculation.
And it has been made clear in the years following that this brand is everything to them, especially Logan Paul, who has stated on multiple occasions that his overall goal in life is to become a billionaire.
When do you guys just say, fuck it? The honest answer? When we both hit that beat.
I'm out this bitch when I hit that beat.
I'm out.
And you're gonna see it unhinged, unfiltered.
Yo, I can't wait, Jake.
And in his head, Logan saw Prime as the fastest way to get there. Basically, the plan was to build Prime up as a worthy competitor to the likes of Gatorade, Powerade, and Body Armor, hoping to achieve enough market share in the category to get acquired by one of the big boys.
inshallah, things go the right way. We're headed one direction.
But they try to end the Island Boys' career, bro.
Be taking a
Like,
massive chunk of the market.
which would obviously leave both Logan and KSI, who are said to have large shares in this company, with hundreds of millions to billions of dollars in their exit from Prime.
Dude, when you try to disrupt well-established industries that have big heads already at the table, they don't want you to sit at that table, because that means you're taking money out of their pocket.
For that to happen, Logan, who is
That's a
rumored to
fact.
own 20% of the company, would need a $5 billion acquisition to
But
occur.
bitch, you been kissing
We all
their
know
ass
that
so
Logan
far.
will
How you
stop
think
at
you got
nothing
so
to
far,
promote his
bitch?
products being seen absolutely
You
everywhere.
part of the
with it,
same
and
people.
even using the hype of his wife's pregnancy to indirectly
Crip.
promote it, alongside his at the time new product Lunchly, which also coincidentally features a Prime
Insane.
beverage.
And of course, we have our snacks and our energy drink. None other than the greatest meals in the world. Lunchly, of course, we have the turkey.
Nigga uses his baby mama's belly as a footstool.
But honestly, it seems like no amount of promotion or collaboration in the current day is going to save Prime at this point. Like, if the company were a rocket, it would be nosediving straight into the ground on a free fall. Like I'm saying, Prime is going backwards faster than Megamond's hairline.
Going in.
Megalodon type of forehead, bitch.
Your
That
forehead.
shit is wild. Is that really his forehead?
Are these forehead jokes just gonna be me for the rest of my life?
Damn, nigga like a bowling ball with a couple of
You
twigs
have
in
to
the back of his
understand the
head.
decline in its popularity
Damn.
across the pond over in the UK, where the sports drink has reportedly lost
You might have
90%
to
of
get
their profit year
a
over year,
surgical
going from £3 million
hairline.
to a measly £300,000. Now, I will note that this number can be really deceptive when gauging a company and its overall health, because obviously expenses can vary from year to year. But the revenue, on the other hand, is where Prime should be absolutely horrified. We already knew that last year the sales in America were down by over 50% in the first half of 2024, but now it has been revealed that their revenue in the UK is down 70% from 2023 to 2024. To be exact, they're down from £112.2 million to £32.8 million. This actually makes it one of the steepest falling, fast-moving consumer goods in the entire food and beverage industry. Now, to
Damn.
save face, representatives from Prime claim that this was a natural occurring phenomena and that this was
That's
expected
what I
after
said,
the
man.
initial hype
Sometimes
bubble,
you
but
want that
it's actually
slow
also
rise.
going on
You don't
right
want
now
that
makes me
spectacle
think
rise,
that they
nigga.
previously thought
You get
differently
that
than
spectacle
But
rise once
obviously,
that
from
like
the outside
oohs and
looking
ahs
in,
is
this
done
does
with.
not
Your
bode
shit is
over well
done.
for potential
Trip.
investors or other competitors who were potentially interested in purchasing the company.
Today, I'd like to pitch you Prime Hydration. Okay? Prime Hydration was developed to.
Man, I feel like Prime had the potential.
Because
But I don't know if Logan Paul was the right one.
starts going away. Why would they
You know
want
what
to
I'm
catch
saying?
that falling knife?
Cause Logan Paul just like he just like for the moment. He's not like something like a house brand, nigga. He's not like.
by quarter.
Like,
You
why
feel
can't
me?
this be the next Gatorade? Like literally, Gatorade is so fucking archaic, and our
Like a goofy.
thesis was to create a better.
But they
freaking hydration
smart
beverage.
because it's like, why let the big corporation take all the goddamn money on? But it's like, damn, if y'all really want to like
150 plus calorie drink,
really
with
do
100 grams
something,
of sugar in it if you want to hydrate.
y'all have to let the shit go and let somebody else control it, but lead from behind. Y'all keep on trying to be on the front line to look like it, bitch. Y'all fucking up the shit.
Loosely. You've just come from the Maldives.
It's like swallowing perfume. What is that?
When you compare their rise and eventual decline to a drink like Body Armor,
They only go off how you think they are. How you think they you are.
to a drink like Body Armor, which was purchased by Coca-Cola,
I ain't really
you can
tried
see
Body
why
Armor
Prime
like
is
that,
not
but it's alright.
attractive to these companies in its current state. Body Armor spent 7 years growing more and more every single year.
But it's nothing
before
spectacular.
Coca-Cola purchased
I'm always gonna
50%
pick
of
like
their company
Powerade,
in
man. It just
2018.
tastes different,
Basically,
bro.
when this happens, the acquiring company has looked through the numbers and they agreed to pour gasoline on their fire through their experience, industry connections, and of course access to proprietary resources. Especially in this industry, the bottling manufacturer they own that gives Coke brands an insane competitive advantage.
Well, this is a big opportunity for Body Armor because they're now going to be within the Coca-Cola bottling system. It's a 1-2 punch from Coke.
After this partnership, they really lit the world on fire with 180% overall growth in their sales from 2018 to 2019. And by 2021, that number had doubled yet again, and that is when Coca-Cola purchased the remaining 85% of the company for the full buyout. Meaning almost every year since their inception, Body Armor grew by at least 50%, and in some cases over 150% before
We
they
don't
were
know who the fuck
completely
runs
acquired.
that shit.
To buy a minority interest, put them in
You know what I'm saying?
to the bottling system.
Oh,
like
Kobe
a test to
Bryant.
see
Oh, most of that shit. I didn't know that.
And the rest is history.
Kobe smart. He
Since
didn't
we
really
ran
put
the
his
system,
shit online
we
so
went from
everybody can
200
judge his shit.
450 million,
He led from the
700 million,
background.
and we'll do 1.1 billion in revenue. And the Coca-Cola bottle.
You don't have to be the face of the shit always, nigga. Like,
this
shit.
brand to the next level.
And
Smart.
obviously, when you were scaling up with more and more product being sold, you start getting things done at cheaper
I know
prices
Kobe
per
Bryant
unit
owned that.
because you were purchasing
I really
massive
never really was
quantities
a
from
big
your
drinker of
manufacturers.
it, but
And
I
this is
drank
where
some of
Prime
it.
is really screwed.
You know what I'm saying?
And some of you may
Sure.
remember they are even facing a $67 million
Chapter.
lawsuit from Refresco Bottling Company because they
Damn!
allegedly backed out of a deal due to what I saw as fears that they would not be able to fill the quotas of this manufacturing contract. Meaning Prime no longer felt that they could sell enough product to justify the agreed upon number that would be manufactured when sales were still high. And in that case, they would owe the
Nigga not trying to get
manufacturer
sold
tons
into
of money
slavery,
for
bitch.
these unfulfilled orders they allegedly agreed
For
to.
real.
You know,
shit.
it's like Prime wanted to grow to appear attractive to the investors and to try and eat up this
Make it
market share.
a quick
And
money
they
on
thought the hype
scheme.
would not only continue but get larger, and it really bit them in the ass.
Keep it, bro. It's as if it's like was it Supreme? People want.
That's what it feels like. It feels like a hype beast product.
Bro, people
It is.
don't
It is
want
hype.
to throw it in the bin.
Supreme is not like a
To
good
scale
shit
out
to
even
want it to
farther,
be.
where Prime really screwed up is
They're
having
like
a
just
lack
for the
of
fashion
direction
of
for
them.
their brand and never making it stand alone from these two clowns. Obviously,
You
off
want
the
something
bat, it
that's
was driven
gonna
by
last.
their and the
Not
marketing
just
that
somebody
this was
talk
a
about
limited
it.
supply product that
You
everyone
feel me?
needed to try, even creating some sort of underground black
Logan Paul was
market
the
in the
wrong
UK
one
for
to be
kids.
the
Local
face of it.
families we talked to said the craze sparked a secondhand market in some
If
schools,
he sell it,
with students
I
reselling
know that shit
single
could come back.
bottles
You know what I'm saying? If he
for a
sell that
Maybe
shit
young
and just let it
children
go
might
and
feel
take his face off
because
that
it's
shit,
colourful,
nigga,
you know,
it's going
bright,
up. I'm
they
telling
might
you.
think, oh yeah, that looks so cool.
I just think it's because famous people are like,
Yeah, the influencers.
yeah, influencing it, and like everyone believes them.
But at this point, they have oversaturated the market with
Yeah.
countless products and flavors, and pretty much
Yeah.
everyone who wanted to try the drink has already done so.
Yeah.
It has also been noted recently that people who do buy Prime on a regular basis are buying less of it on average than before, meaning even their established returning customers are getting fatigued or aging out of their product. I mean, honestly, guys, when have you ever seen an adult drinking Prime since it came out? Like, the only
Never.
time I see the drink in general is in massive quantities piled up on some sort of clearance section in my local grocery store,
Damn.
which obviously kills the consumer's perception
75
of the
cents now.
brand.
Niggas should
It
buy
is the
that shit.
simple
That's a deal.
psychology
I'll
of
steal the
supply and
shit.
demand.
If
Like, you see them all
anything.
out there like, oh, no one's buying that shit. They really just failed to make
Facts.
it clear whether this drink was for an athlete at a game or a child at their school lunch, as something healthy.
You gotta be a bougie ass
Let's get to
motherfucker.
the formula again
To
and
drink
kind of
that
round this
shit.
out. So we have, again, the basis of the whole thing is essentially that this is not an actual electrolyte formula, rather it is a potassium drink with sucralose. That is what it is. Like, that's the purpose of Prime. It is something that you can drink on a daily basis as a enjoyable drink. That is what it is. It's not a actual performance-based, athlete-focused electrolyte blend. It is something that you could sip on in class, walking around, whatever, that is nearly void of calories that taste good.
The entire company thought that they could build themselves up on celebrity endorsement and shady marketing, while, like I said, never really making an effort to try and make this product stand alone from these two clowns. And to me, a good company
Facts,
never
nigga.
needs to put down a
Take
competitor
their
to
face
prop
off the shit,
themselves up.
it's going
But that
up.
is all that Logan Paul and even Mr. Beast, who has tried his hand in
I heard
similar
Mr.
food and
Beast,
beverage markets, wanna
food
do.
companies is
Alright, we'll start off
crashing.
with the Lunchables.
Bro, I'm sorry, that's trash. All right, now we're trying lunch league. Come on, we're not biased at all, but ours is way better. The hydration beverages that are on the market right now are like either A, not good for you, B, taste like shit, or C, are archaic as fuck. Gatorade's been around for 15 years, has 120 calories. It's so high in sugar, it's fucking garbage. Yeah, man. Why has no one effectively made a drink that is actually better for you and is affordable and tastes good? The UK shows up.
Like, compared to, all our competitors, we're just destroying them.
By doing the wackiest shit.
Yeah,
But you gotta understand, these companies been in probably
when you ever
in
gonna see what
the shit for years. decades. You know what I'm saying?
To me, it's just a very tacky way to market and attempt to make your product look superior. And to make matters even worse, over the years, various health professionals picked apart their claims of being the superior, healthier sports beverage.
If a parent came into my doctor's office, I would not recommend that their child drink this for lunch.
Damn.
Oh my god, I'm about to get so much hydration. No, it's garbage.
I'm going to tell you exactly why Prime doesn't rehydrate you. It is not optimal for hydration.
Liquid IV with 11 grams of sugar compared to Prime's 2 grams. Liquid IV has 870 milligrams of electrolytes, and the Prime stick has 871 milligrams of electrolytes.
Now it's intentional. Look, we're this much better by 1 milligram. This is not the same stratification of electrolytes. So when he lumps them together as if it is an electrolyte is an electrolyte, it's like, do you know the composition of sweat that even comes out of your f***ing face when you're exercising, bro? I don't
Logan
think so.
Paul
I
is a
think you
scammer,
think
bro.
this is all the
He
same.
a jokester,
And
bro.
for you to go at
Goofball.
Liquid IV, ready to like chop their head off when you don't even know what the difference is and why it would be useful to maybe have some sodium in there,
goofy
is
ass.
actually kind of laughable, to be honest.
He's a
At the
goofy.
end of the day, I really do think
The
that
niggas
Prime
is making
just
up
bit off
schemes
more
and
than they
scams,
could
and
chew.
anybody who
They obviously cut a
bimbos
lot
who
of
buying that shit
corners,
actually.
expanded way too far, and really lacked the
Hoping these motherfuckers
experience to
get
make
rich.
their ascension a smooth rise. Now things are looking more bleak for this company than ever. They're obviously still facing a couple of massive lawsuits, and it's my estimate that the long-awaited buyout is never coming for this company. But either way, I want to know what you guys think down below. Have you ever tried Prime? Are you a frequent consumer of their products? Do you
Ain't
know
never
anyone
tried
who's
shit.
still on that
Ain't
Prime
never
kit that's
tried
older
it.
than the age of like 12?
Nigga
Let me know down
capped
below.
out.
Either way, I do want to
Cracker
thank you
capped
guys
out,
for
man.
watching today's video, dropping a like and
Ain't drinking none of
subscribing.
that shit.
But as you guys know, it's been your
Shout out
boy,
to,
Superman, and some other failing
KSI
YouTube
and
products
shit. I
out
used to
you need
watch
to be
him
covered. So I'm out.
the kid and shit.
Peace.
It's over for Logan Paul. Man, fuck Logan and Jake. Hey, more Megan, just shout out to him, man. Let's talk about the real, man. Let's be honest. You know, this motherfucker finna lose everything on this goofy ass.
Talk about the Logan Paul situation. So apparently Logan Paul has been trying to bully the CryptoZoo victims after scamming them by making them pay for flights they can't afford. He's also been trying to bury other people involved in tons of legal work in order to make them quit. His lawyers are somehow sabotaging him by making horrible arguments to the court and potentially working in Coffeezilla's favor. Prime is completely failing as a company with record low revenue, and Logan is panicking.
This disastrous for this
Subscribe or you're
motherfucker.
reincarnated as Logan's child. You're absolutely cooked.
Motherfucker trying to be like Michael Jackson so bad.
Now, quick recap for people who don't follow the story. A while back, Coffeezilla exposed Logan Paul for his crypto scams with a very popular YouTube series. And Logan Paul did the logical thing and, instead of just paying back the victims from CryptoZoo, the people that he actually scammed,
Told
he
you this
decided
motherfucker
to
is a
sue
scammer,
Coffeezilla
man.
for defamation, insisting that he is not
Can't
a
trust these
scammer. Okay, so
motherfuckers.
since then,
They scammers.
Logan Paul's scummy text messages also got leaked, basically showing that
They
he was
taking all
not
our
suing
motherfucking money
Coffeezilla
out,
because he
bitch.
thought he was defamed,
Fuck these
but
motherfuckers.
actually because he's a self-proclaimed petty billionaire who just wanted to ruin his life.
Paul also admitted that he's suing him just to make his life difficult. And he says Zilla will pay one way or another. I'll make sure of it. Bro, you're a billionaire. Paul responds with, a petty billionaire. I want people who wronged me to suffer
So he's
while I
suing
continue getting
Coffeezilla?
wins on their grave.
Right, so after that,
insane.
Logan Paul was being investigated by the FBI and the SEC. And that brings us to today, where Logan Paul is trying to bully the victims that he already scammed. Basically, Coffee called on 3 victims of CryptoZoo to give
So
video
he trying to sue him for
deposition
defamation,
But turns out
of
these
course.
victims are from Portugal and New Zealand, so, they're very far from America and Texas, where this case is happening. And Logan obviously
Damn.
knows that he's completely screwed, and these depositions are not in his
This
favor.
motherfucker
Obviously, the
suing for
victims are going to
crypto?
speak out against Logan Paul, right? So what he's doing here, he's asking them to appear in person
Of
and not
course.
over a video call, because he knows they can't afford
They
the
live far
flights
as
to come
fuck.
to the U.S. Shout out to YouTuber Legal Bites for this info.
Logan Paul was just outed yet again to be the petty billionaire that so many people out there already think he is. Specifically, it comes up in a motion filed by Coffeezilla requesting for leave to take video depositions remotely by Zoom. The depositions are of 3 crypto zoo investors. And despite the fact that they apparently live in Portugal and New Zealand, Logan Paul, or more specifically his legal team, is saying, nah, you have to spend cash to fly to Texas to be deposed in person.
That's
Logan
wild.
Paul, or better yet, his legal team, is being unreasonable, and it's pointlessly costing Coffeezilla money by forcing
So they
him
better,
to
they
file
better
this
fly
motion
spirit,
and
bitch, or
argue
less
it.
than
And
that,
at the end of
bitch.
the day, it's playing right into the narrative that
Get that
Paul
money
is a
on
bully
shit.
looking to punish his critics and now re-victimize the alleged victims.
So you're telling me this guy apparently took, I don't know, their life savings and now he still wants to take
Damn.
more? Holy freaking evil
I
psychopath,
told you to
bro.
be a
What
billionaire
kind of a
in this
person
type of
does this?
century and
So obviously
decade,
the
bitch, you gotta
victims
be on
can't
some
afford
crazy
these
ass shit.
flights, so
That's a
Coffee
fact.
will be forced to pay the expenses on their
Unless you can
behalf.
just the
And
jackpot
essentially
or some
that's
shit.
what
I don't
Logan is
fucking
trying
know,
to do.
bitch.
He's trying to milk Coffee for as much money as humanly possible and essentially bleed him out dry so everybody knows in the future never step to petty billionaire Logan Paul because he's going to make this court case go on for
Can't
years and
stand
years and
petty
essentially
ass
bully you with his money. And I don't think anybody is surprised
wanna
that
be
Logan
fuckboy
is
hoe
being
ass
this
boy.
massive scumbag, but it's just funny after he
Privileged ass
apparently
motherfucker spoon
apologized
bitch.
to the victims as well and says he cares about them, he wants to pay them back or whatever, but behind the scenes he's doing this shit. So after this she talks about
Motherfucker
why
love
Logan
ruining
is actually
motherfucker's
doing
life.
this.
Okay, so on July 23rd,
Hey,
Coffeezilla filed
they
a
is
motion
suing that
for leave to
motherfucker,
take
so it is what
videotape
it is out
depositions
there
of
today.
Duarte Campos to
But shit,
Oliveira, Martin
you
Campos to
took
Oliveira,
their
and
life
Kira
savings,
and
bitch.
Creek.
You
And he
fucked
started
that
out by
motherfucker
saying that he
over.
had noticed the depositions of 3 crypto investors, which Coffeezilla, of course, calls victims. He says he noticed them to appear via Zoom video conference since 2 of them live in Portugal and 1 lives in New Zealand. And of course, this lawsuit is all happening in Texas, in the United States. Despite the fact that they're non-parties to this lawsuit, they apparently agreed to appear at depositions via Zoom, which means they're not making Coffeezilla serve them with subpoenas. Instead, they're cooperating. And then he says Paul does not oppose depositions occurring, but opposes them being conducted by
Coffeezilla on his motherfucking
There appears
ass.
to be an ongoing pattern. Paul wants to punish his critics by forcing them to incur
Damn.
international travel expenses simply to tell their story. But Paul
Hey,
has
it's kind
no
of good and
legitimate
bad because
reasons
there
to
wasn't no
oppose
black
the
people he
relief
was
sought. Now,
targeting.
Coffeezilla says the testimony of
Alright.
these witnesses is important to
Right
his
on
case
right
because
crime.
it
We
goes
like
to
it. Shit,
the
fuck it.
element of defamation where Paul needs to show that the statement Coffeezilla made was a false statement of fact.
Yeah, I don't care what anybody says. Logan Paul gotta be like top 10 anime villains, bro. Ain't no way this fucking financial
Nuh-uh. What's the
dementor
nigga name?
is still trying to suck away even more money from his victims. So it wasn't enough to actually do a crypto scam and all this shady bullshit. Now you're making sure they will never oppose you again because you're an actual supervillain abusing your power here. And the funniest part is he's not even arguing that they shouldn't give a deposition, right? If you didn't know, a deposition is basically like giving testimony, but it's like before the trial. So he's just trying to make it as annoying as humanly possible. And obviously that's why this court case has been taking over a year, and some lawyers are speculating that it's going to take even more years now, potentially 2 more years. So Logan is literally going to stretch this out as long as humanly possible. So this next part, she talks about the victims and how they actually declared on paper that they are victims of Logan and they can't actually afford these flights at all.
Forcing the non-party victims to travel from
Well, I
Portugal
mean,
and
you
New
live in
Zealand to
fucking New
Texas for
Zealand
their
and
depositions
Poland, bitch.
would result in undue burden and expense, which is
Nigga,
good
that's
cause for the court grant to
crazy.
believe for them to appear
This
remotely.
motherfucker
They
hitting
do not
licks
have
from
the
it,
means to
motherfuckers in
travel
Poland
or
and
miss
New
work for
Zealand, bitch.
travel
That's
and
fucked
deposition
up.
time. And Coffeezilla also attaches
These motherfuckers
declarations
on a whole
from
new,
both
on a
Duarte
whole
and
different
Martin
time zone,
Campos
bitch.
de Oliveira.
Fuck
And
them
in these
shit.
declarations, they both
Goofy
say that in
asses.
order to be at a deposition in
Nigga,
Texas
imagine
in
telling your
person,
friend, yeah,
you would
man.
need to travel like
I
5,000
just got
miles,
scammed by
which would
Logan
take
Paul,
like
goofy
30 hours
ass.
of travel
Bitch,
time.
what the fuck
And
are you
this would
talking
also
about?
cost each of them around $1,200 round trip
Dumbasses.
and take them away from work, which they
Now,
say they simply
he
can't
said he's
afford.
gonna do
I
this and
would
that.
venture to guess that after losing money to Paul's project, it probably sucks to then be told that Paul is trying to make them pay thousands of dollars to tell their story in a lawsuit between people that don't even involve you. And yeah, it's entirely possible that these individuals actually really do need to work given their alleged financial losses in this case.
I mean, of course they need to work.
How much
Most
was it
people
though? Like,
need
was
to
it over
work,
100K?
and they are not multi-millionaires, potentially billionaires like Logan.
Yeah.
And obviously, after losing a significant amount of money through the Crypto Zoo scam, it just made it 10 times worse. Obviously, a bunch of people say, well, you shouldn't have been stupid and, invested in this. But what's done is done. At this point, they just need justice. You need to pay back the victims because they did it thinking that, they
So
might have
did
had
he
a
sell
chance
his
or,
crypto?
trusting
And
in
then when they
Logan's
sold it,
reputation
it
as a
just stopped
famous person,
going
I
up.
guess. And here we have the declaration by Martin
That's
D.
crazy.
Oliveira. I'm over the age of 18, of sound mind, competent to make this declaration. I would and could competently testify on these facts if I'm called as a witness. I am a victim of Logan Paul's Crypto Zoo scam. I'm willing to testify in this case without a subpoena, so they're cooperating and stuff. I live in Portugal, and this is obviously the important part. Portugal is, super far from Texas, and, it would take $1,200 round trip, more than 30 hours of travel time. Also had to take time away from work, which you cannot afford to do. Cannot afford to purchase a flight to San Antonio, Texas from Portugal, and for lodging accommodations to attend an in-person deposition. Willing and available to testify via Zoom. Also prepared to share documentation at the Zoom deposition to verify my identity. Right, so obviously Logan wants them to spend thousands of dollars to go to Texas. Not to mention, this is not the only problem because they're going to have to give about 8 hours of deposition and they have to give it to each side, right? To each of the lawyers on both sides. So it's basically like 16 hours of wasted time, even once you go there. And that's not including time you're just waiting for the court to take place and the proceedings to take place, right? And obviously you mentioned the accommodation cost as well. You're going to probably have to buy a hotel or something because they likely don't have relatives in the U.S. or whatever. Essentially, it's a lot of wasted time, a lot of lost money, from time they could be spending working, time away from the family, etc., etc. And essentially, they have to put their life on pause for this lawsuit, right? And after they are already victims and lost a shit ton of money that they're attempting to make back by working. And Logan knows all of this, obviously, and he knows that a video deposition would make absolutely no difference, right? And the only reason you would need them there physically is to potentially verify their identity, but it's pretty obvious you could do that through video means at this point. Just pull up your ID, send over some documents, etc., etc. AI is not advanced enough at this point to, perfectly replicate some dude and, perfectly respond. So this next part, Coffee actually anticipates Logan's arguments and tries to counteract them beforehand. And you can see that Coffee is basically trying to do anything to make this whole thing speed up because, this is just bleeding him dry constantly, more and more expenses.
First, he says he thinks Paul will argue that by doing these depositions remotely, they won't be able to verify the identity of these witnesses. For the ones that by doing these depositions remotely, they won't be able to verify the identity of these witnesses. And second, he says Paul will likely argue that he wants to pressure test the truth of whatever testimony they give, and that they won't be able to do that if the deposition is done remotely. But as to the first argument, Coffeezilla says the witnesses have already agreed to show documentation verifying their identity, just like it would happen in any in-person deposition. And as for the second argument, courts reject this kind of argument because it essentially would result in repealing the rule allowing any remote depositions. And interestingly, Coffeezilla also points out in a footnote that the parties have already agreed to do a number of depositions remotely in this case, to include both sides' experts and a crypto-zoo investor that Paul had selected to depose. So really, like I said, this should be an easy dispute to resolve without emotion like this, and Logan is instead playing into the petty billionaire narrative here.
I mean, it's no longer a narrative at this point. It is just the truth. He is exploiting his massive amounts of wealth here to bleed the victims dry and get points on Coffeezilla. He just wants to further disparage any victims from coming out. And it's basically a warning sign to anyone opposing Logan Paul, right? Even if you sue him, even if you are in the right, even if you actually have a good, case, open and shut case, he will still make it 10 years. He will still bleed you dry. He will still inconvenience the absolute hell out of you. Do anything he can to, make this more arduous for you. So essentially the message is don't sue Logan Paul. Doesn't matter if he scammed you. I'm Logan Paul. I can do anything. I'm rich and I will get away with it. That's what he's trying to say here. Also, this guy is so pathetic. He actually already agreed to do a video deposition involving someone else in the case. But apparently these brothers who actually are the victims, right, the main part of the case, apparently they are not allowed to do the deposition, right? They have to actually naturally come in person. Logan really just wants to see their toenails, actually. He's just a big fan of their toes. He just needs to see a good visual. Obviously, it's very important to the case. Yes. Then she talks about the impact this whole situation will have on the court of public opinion, right? Because that's very important to Logan Paul's brand.
And Paul's legal team could 100% have just stipulated these depositions happening remotely, and it looks like instead they chose to force Coffeezilla to spend more of his own money to file and argue this motion. And the thing that distinguishes this case from others is that it's not just being fought in the court of law, it's also being fought in the court of public opinion. And this is the kind of fight that just highlights and reinforces the narrative that Logan Paul is a petty billionaire who will bully anyone who crosses him.
I mean, Logan Paul's reputation is so far in the gutter, I think a fucking sewer rat would be held in higher regard. And the court of public opinion absolutely does matter, because that is where Logan Paul is making the majority of his income, right? It still rests on people actually like him. And I know we think that most people actually don't like him, but he still has this fringe, like, cult audience or something. Maybe a bunch of kids who don't really care about what's going on here. But even that audience is sort of growing up at this point. And I feel like if enough people know about this, if enough people actually bring attention to the fact that this is the type of person he is, you wouldn't even need to, make the kids aware of the situation. It's, straight up just going after the brands and the sponsors, because that's kind of what happened when Logan had his whole Side Forest incident, or any of these other scandals. Essentially, the brands would distance themselves from him, and then Logan would lose millions of dollars, which is exactly what he doesn't actually want happening. You could have just forked over just a few $1 million to the victims, but instead he chose to go down this path of just antagonizing his enemies as much as possible, just sort of excruciatingly making the process as painful as possible for the victims. And it was this next part, Logan Paul ends up being a massive pain in the ass again. So if it wasn't enough to have these victims sort of fly out to do this deposition, he's now going after the guy in the class action case as well. He's essentially having him produce a ton of documents in essentially discovery or whatever. And this is essentially going to be a very long and arduous process, and I don't know if it's exactly legally necessary, but you know sure as hell Logan Paul is going to use every avenue to just bully these people as much as possible.
$500K to $1 million.
Boris was so sure as hell Logan Paul is going to use every avenue to just bully these people as much as possible.
And somehow it gets even worse, because there is a guy called Don Holland, and he is leading the class action lawsuit against CryptoZoo. And Logan Paul is now dragging this guy into the defamation lawsuit. And now he's not suing him personally, but he wants his deposition, and he wants him to produce a bunch of documents, except it is a bunch of documents. And when you have to answer to discovery, this takes a lot of time out of your life. I was watching this channel that said he was asked for discovery, and he basically had to spend 3 to 4 weeks nonstop taking 7,000 screenshots from emails and text messages that he sent to other people. So this can be very taxing on someone's life. Obviously, they said no, and this is what Logan Paul had to say. Through his counsel, Holland objected to the subpoena in its entirety, refused to produce any responsive documents, and subsequently ignored multiple good faith attempts by Paul's counsel to meet and confirm there being no legitimate basis for Holland to resist compliance with Paul's subpoena. Holland should be ordered to promptly produce responsive materials. And this is his end goal. He's trying to make it as expensive and as annoying as possible to be in litigation with him, so that the next time someone wants to speak up against him and say, hey, I lost money because of Logan Paul, they're going to be dissuaded, because they don't want to get involved in these lengthy legal battles, where obviously he has a shit ton amount of money. He has basically endless funds to fight this, so all his lawyers can just bury the people in depositions, in discovery, and it's just showing that he has no remorse whatsoever for what he has done. The fact that he's willing to put these poor people through even more ordeals just so that they can testify in person is really showing a lack of empathy and any type of remorse whatsoever.
No way, guys. You're telling me the sociopath who literally filmed a dead body and put it on YouTube for views actually doesn't have empathy. Shocking. Absolutely shocking information. Nobody could have guessed. I think he needs to go back to school and take some IDubbbz classes on empathy, but keep in mind, he hasn't reached the ripe age of 32, so he won't be able to process those emotions yet. But yeah, the court process is an absolute nightmare here, and it's essentially really bad for the people who are even in the winning side of things. If, like, as one of the lawyers said that we were covering before, if you end up going to court, you have already lost, right? Most, like 97% of cases end in like settlements or something, so if it ends up going to court, both sides essentially have to spend a lot of time and resources and money, and yeah, this is going to be an absolute headache for everybody involved. And I don't mind like scumbags having to deal with this shit, but the fact that some of these people are actually victims and they have to essentially go through even more sort of harassment from Logan here is just so pathetic. If Paul was able to take money from them through the internet, the victim should be able to testify using the internet. Actual genius. Okay, this is actually like perfect comment here. Literally, the crypto scam was through the internet, man. My God. Logan Paul is such a scummy weasel. You better believe it's going to be as slippery as possible in order to try to evade all of this. We have a responsibility to not let people like him get away with these horrible scams that prey on honest, hardworking people. Hey, we're spreading the message here, alright? Anyways, turns out, despite the fact that Logan's lawyers are annoying as hell, they are actually somehow ending up helping Coffeezilla because they are apparently making some dumb arguments here. Basically, Coffee actually filed a motion to transfer venue of the lawsuit, right, to Austin, essentially who wanted to link up the defamation case against him with the class action lawsuit against Logan, right? And Logan was essentially denying this whole thing because obviously, sort of joining the two cases or, having the same judge preside over both cases will sort of speed up the process, right? Speed up the legal process. And we all know Logan is going to lose this case, so he wants to keep this going as long as humanly possible, right? So now what he's doing is he's requesting a bunch of info from Dom Holland, right? And he's implying that the two cases are related, right? So essentially what he's doing is he's counteracting what he said before, that he doesn't want these cases joined, because he's requesting this info, and this info is related from the other case. So he's basically admitting that these cases are actually related. So he's going to have to end up arguing both sides of the case to the judge, and that's just not going to look good.
Logan Paul may have just painted himself into a little bit of a corner in his defamation case against Coffeezilla. And by that I mean, he just made an argument to the court that might end up unintentionally helping the other side. Logan Paul recently filed a motion to compel discovery from Don Holland. You'll notice that Holland is not a party to the defamation case against Coffeezilla. Rather, he's the class representative for the CryptoZoo scam class action lawsuit. And I mean, for example, if Holland has text messages from years ago talking trash about Paul for being an idiot who got himself banished from the entire country of Japan, technically that would fit into request number 1 with the way that it's written. And that really would have nothing to do with either of these two lawsuits that we're talking about here. Anyway, Holland has also now filed an opposition to the motion to compel. And in his opposition, Holland basically said, no way, Paul's requests are overbroad and unduly burdensome, and here's why. And interestingly, one of the main arguments that Holland makes several times in this filing is he says Paul fails to explain why these documents are somehow relevant not to the class action case, but to Coffeezilla's defamation case. Paul needs to show that he's not just trying to backdoor his way into evidence he's not allowed to demand yet. And to do that, he needs to show that it's relevant to this case.
Right, so he's basically trying to say that I need all these documents, right? I need all this evidence to prove Coffeezilla wrong, but it's not even related to the Coffeezilla case. This is from the class action lawsuit, right, which is an entirely separate case, which proves that these two cases are closely related, which is what Logan Paul was trying to get away from this entire time, right? So even in all of the bullshit, he can't seem to keep up with all the lies here, right? But essentially what I'm sort of getting from this is that Logan wants this shit to go on forever, right? And be solved as slow as humanly possible, even though these cases are related. He wants them to be solved in two separate courts, two separate judges. That way it will go on
through
potentially more than 2 years,
through
potentially like 3 to 4
they scam
years,
through
right?
life.
And that way
all they
Logan
do
Paul
is
can,
we make the product
harass the
and
victims
they
even
scam
more,
us.
maybe ask for more flights here and there, and all this money will be taken from Coffeezilla because Coffeezilla is obviously going to have to pay these people to do the deposition because he's going to have to pay for the flights and everything like that. And I think this is just a stupid ass rule, by the way. If you want to demand they appear in person, right? I think you should be made to pay it, right? Isn't that like common sense? Am I being stupid?
Yeah,
like, if you are rejecting the video deposition here, what is your reasoning for that, right? Obviously, there's some bullshit lawyer reason, obviously, but I feel like you should be making the expenses there because you're making the request here, right? But anyways, this next part, she continues explaining why it's actually going to be really hard for Logan's lawyers to explain this in a manner that actually makes sense.
So now, in response to Holland's opposition, Paul is being forced to explain to the judge why the information he's trying to get from Holland actually is relevant to the defamation case. Paul is going to need to make this argument to the very same judge who still has yet to make a decision on the motion to transfer venue. And so this puts this issue of overlap between these two cases front and center at a time when the judge is probably thinking a bit about this issue already. And so if I'm Paul's lawyer right now, I'm probably asking myself, how can I make the case with a straight face, no less, that this information from the class action representative is relevant to the defamation case, but at the same time that there's really no overlap between these cases. It's silly mental gymnastics in my opinion, and honestly, I don't envy Paul's lawyers in having to figure out that routine.
Yeah, unfortunately for Logan, his signature move of constant bullshitting doesn't seem to be working in court here. And even his lawyers are struggling to keep up with the fact that they are supposed to somehow win this case while arguing both ways. Like, that's just not going to happen. So anyways,
just to get their name
by Logan here. Literally ended up helping Coffee and essentially proving his point that these two cases should be related and should be litigated in close proximity by the same judge here. And the reason being obviously convenience because, courts love to save time. If you watch any fucking show ever, well, hurry up. Any TV show ever, the judge is always like, hurry up, you're wasting the time of the court. I just want Coffeezilla to cross-examine Logan Paul in jury case on TV or streaming. That's what I want. Absolute cinema, dude. I just want live stream trial, even with this whole Ethan Hassan thing. I just want a trial, man. Oh my god, the amount of content would be amazing.
And the cameras
when
in
is
that
the court
bitch.
going to declare petty Logan Paul a vexatious litigant with this time-wasting and money-wasting shenanigans? I hope this BS makes a judge angry for wasting everyone's time and being so petty. I mean, they get real pissed with that shit, so who knows? Apart from cost, they may not even be allowed entry into the U.S. unless they're citizens. I guess they'd have to get their own visas too as well, right? The extra $250 they need to apply for a travel visa. We're so effed as a country. My god, dude. I really think Logan needs to pay that shit. Like, it's just such a weird system that he doesn't have to pay that. Anyways, moving on to Prime. Logan Paul and KSI's firstborn child officially was actually not a human, but a bottle of, in my opinion, toxic fucking radioactive waste. So basically, Prime the drink, if you didn't know, has been completely failing since it first launched. I will admit the launch was pretty spectacular because, KSI and Logan had these massive fan bases and they essentially pushed this sort of hype beast product. It was promoted by Mr. Beast a bunch and a bunch of other people. So everyone sort of, knew that hype would be pretty strong at the start.
They need to be the hype at first. They need to disappear.
3 years since
and
Logan
put
Paul
new
and
people
KSI launched their
who's
hydration
kind of like
beverage
relevant,
Prime,
but like
and
to
despite
be
their
the
lightning in a
spokesman,
bottle
not
start,
y'all.
the last 2 years have been filled with controversy after controversy. From alleged forever chemicals in their products, to countless lawsuits, beef with the most famous soccer player on the planet, and currently an extreme downfall of Prime sales all over the world, has now diminished to the clearance rack at your local Walmart. We all know that Logan will stop at nothing to promote this product, being seen absolutely everywhere with it, and even using the hype of his wife's pregnancy to indirectly promote it, alongside his at the time new product Lunchly, which also coincidentally features a Prime beverage.
And of course, we have our snacks and our energy drink, none other than the greatest meals in the world. luxury, of course, we have the turkey, cheese, and cracker stack. Also the Fiesta Nachos, my personal favorite.
Love.
Like I'm saying, Prime is going backwards faster than Megamind's hairline.
Megamind's hairline is diabolical, bro. Holy shit. KSI, man. I understand why you wear the bandana. Holy shit. No, but honestly, Logan is such a piece of shit, dude. He's so obsessed with promoting Prime. Obviously, we talked about this in the whole Lunchly saga, that he was promoting it at the birth of his child. Literally, like, putting it on his wife's pregnant belly and shit.
Your son head is a cup holder.
And
like y'all motherfuckers that watch Family Guy,
obviously,
and the motherfucker had a baby, he's smoking a cigarette, nigga put the head, the soft spot, put the cigarette.
You know, saying that they're gonna fight, but then completely pussied out because that guy's an absolute titan. So anyways, even statistics-wise, it's just not looking good for Prime. Here he talks about the fall in sales and the revenue for Prime, and it's apparently down like 70% or something.
You have to understand the decline in its popularity across the pond over in the UK, where the sports drink has reportedly lost 90% of their profit year over year, going from £3 million to a measly £300,000. We already knew that last year the sales in America were down by over 50% in the first half of 2024, but now it has been revealed that their revenue in the UK is down 70% from 2023 to 2024. To be exact, they're down from £112.2 million to £32.8 million. This actually makes it one of the steepest falling, fast-moving consumer goods in the entire food and beverage industry.
Wow, who would have thought that a product called Prime Hydration, you know, which is meant to hydrate you, and none of the ingredients actually accomplish that in a competent manner compared to any of the market substitute, is actually failing as a beverage. Wow, who would have thought? Now, obviously, down 70% is an omega yikes, and this is in the UK too, which is basically KSI's lane, right? Like 99% of his audience is from there. He literally mind controls every single kid in the UK. He could probably tell them to jump off a building, and they'd happily do it and be like, I love KSI, jump off. Okay. I need to show with my jokes, but honestly, like every kid just worships that guy there, and apparently even they can't stand this fucking sewage water, you know? And you know, that really makes me curious about what happened to Lunchly, because I haven't heard that name in absolute ages anywhere, so I'm assuming they are surely completely as well. They had a bunch of controversy. I mean, Logan and KSI basically had no experience with this whole drink thing as well. They kind of just did it because I guess they were sort of semi-boxer athletes or whatever, and that was the only relation they had. And the main reason, they just wanted a quick buck and found out an easy way to do it. And obviously, the most profitable products, if you didn't know, are things that can be consumed again and again, right? So if you sell a piece of merch, for example, like a shirt or a hoodie, your consumer, you know, your fans can only buy it once. Meanwhile, Prime, or like a consumable beverage, you can have over and over and over again, and that's where the real money is. And obviously, Logan and KSI, being the most fucking greedy motherfuckers on the planet, saw this and saw dollar signs in their eyes and just wanted to get into every industry humanly possible, right? Then he talks about the countless bad PR and the lawsuits.
Like, literally, Gatorade is so archaic, and our thesis was to create a better-for-you hydration beverage.
Ooh, smells a bit high. Bit high? What is that flavour you got there?
Tropical punch, it says. Loosely. You've just come from the Maldives.
It's like swallowing perfume. What is that?
That's crazy. He just
Some of you may remember they were even facing a $67 million lawsuit from Refresco Bottling Company because they allegedly backed out of a deal due to what I saw as fears that they would not be able to fill the quotas of this manufacturing contract. Meaning Prime no longer felt that they could sell enough product to justify the agreed-upon number that would be manufactured when sales were still high. And in that case, they would owe the manufacturer tons of money for these unfulfilled orders they allegedly agreed to. And if we're to scale out even farther, where Prime really screwed up is having a lack of direction for their brand and never making it stand alone from these two clowns. Like, the only time I see the drink in general is in massive quantities piled up on some sort of clearance section in my local grocery store.
Prime, oh my god, I'm about to get so much hydration. No, this is garbage. I'm gonna tell you exactly why Prime doesn't rehydrate you. It is not optimal for hydration.
Yeah, just don't drink that shit unless you want an out-of-body experience akin to choking on sewage water. I'm just gonna be honest, I wouldn't give Prime to a dehydrating squirrel at the corner of the road
that bitch to a dehydrated
for
camel,
any
bitch.
sense of hydration because it would probably kill it. All right,
That's
I'd say,
tough.
hey buddy, keep walking, look for some water or something.
Damn,
This ain't
you
gonna
gotta
help
drink
you.
the water
I
from
can
the
proudly say I've
cactus,
never
huh?
tried Prime. That's how much I dislike Logan Paul. Congratulations, you're living past 30. Prime can't even get sold at the Dollar Tree. I go in there and their shelves are full of Prime. Nobody wants it. I mean, I'm glad they're absolutely failing. They completely deserve it, and I'm hoping that Coffee wipes his ass in the lawsuit too. Again, full disclosure, this is probably going to take multiple years. Don't worry, I'll still be there covering all the updates as usual. But yeah, it sucks that it just takes so freaking long to get a little bit of justice. But anyways, that's about it. Click this video or your water supply is replaced by Prime for the rest of your life. You're not making it past 30, pal. You're cooked. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Bitch. Liquid acid, bitch.
Alright, we back. So like I was saying, bruh, half the people that nigga was scamming, man, they say he scammed some people from overshare, man. You gotta be a damn fool half the time to understand, like, if you're gonna invest your money on anything, you're gonna lose that shit half the time. You know what I'm saying? If you gonna invest the shit, you might as well give it out the kindness of your heart, bitch. Cause if you're gonna try to invest into some shit that these niggas telling you to do, bruh, it might not work, bruh. You might get scammed, nigga. Like, bruh, that's the meta. That's what they doing, bitch. And I know that it be sounding so good. Sometimes I can be like, damn, I can come up, I can be this and that, I can get this, whoop, whoop, that, this, that, whoop, whoop, wop, wop, whoop, whoop. Get to what you need to get to, crip. But it just don't work out like that. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes, you know, hey, it happens. It's the best. You know what I'm saying? Motherfucker hit you with a big ass scam. Motherfucker down. Nigga, they trying to sweep nigga for the this motherfucker crack for the M&M. So I don't know, bro. At the end of the day, man, I feel like, bro, he just playing the game, finessing on motherfuckers, and say they trying to get their get back. At the end of the day, man, we just gonna see how it goes, man. You know, like I said, man, the downfall, I don't know, but is it doing something? Probably is, but we just gotta see what's going on, man. We out this bitch, hood, Northside, P-Crip, gang, Northside shit.
Hey, Dad, you know, dog, when we link up, dog, this shit be legendary. You know this instrumental, you the engineer on it, so Kodak everywhere.